I've yet to actually hear a compelling reason why men should sacrifice their life, why they should take the bullet.
Have you had
answer the question
on a first date? Have you told a woman that, and how did she react? Have you told I would sacrifice you?
That's his opening line. That's his opening.
Well, no, because I'm wondering, because if masculinity is defined by how many kids you have, you got to at least get past the first date, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think it's kind of interesting though. So basically, your metric for which you would date a man is he must die for me.
No, I'm asking you, is your metric that you date a woman, her being okay with her dying for you?
Oh, she doesn't have to die for me, but I'm definitely not dying for her.
Okay.
At least it's fair.
I don't think men should be willing to die for any woman. I think it should just be his one woman.
Yes.
Like if a woman's walking down the street, like he doesn't even know her, like, and she walks into traffic, I'm not going to expect him to run out into traffic.
Even your wife.
I mean, if I fall into traffic or something, like, I expect my husband to, like, at least try to get me out of that situation.
Look, just to be clear, I would absolutely protect my wife.
But you might get hit by a car.
Up to a point, though, I'm not going to die.
So, like, if a burglar, like, comes into your house, into your bedroom.
He's going to die.
Like,
I'm going to kill him.
What if he finds your wife first? What if you're in the bedroom and she's in the kitchen? He goes to the kitchen first. Like, are you willing to run into the kitchen and, like,
I'm going to take out my gun.
Okay.
And he's going to get some lead.
Great.
Okay, if you're
But are you going to stand in front of her and use your lead, or are you going to stand behind her?
No, what if you're outnumbered?
Yeah. Like, which one are you going to do?
What if you're outnumbered? What if there are multiple?
I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him in my sights. And I'm like, get the fuck out the way, lady. And then he's going to get shot.
Lady.
When your wife is standing in front of you and has no weapon of her own because she's just like making dinner, about to get ready to bow to you. She's getting ready to bow, and she doesn't have her gun on her.
What the fuck? Didn't mean to do that.
She's preparing her best bow.
Making dinner and preparing her best bow. Is that what you said?
Yes.
I actually think if you're confronted with the moment like that, not the kitchen scenario, but in a scenario where you were going to take, I really think deep down something in your biology would probably step in the way and push her out of the way.
I feel like
I know, I really think so.
Luckily, I've transcended.
Your instinct.
I've transcended.
Hold on, but in handgun practice, there's like this rule that you're only going to be 50% if you're actually really good with accuracy with the gun in a moment of stress. And so I think your biology would actually kick in and you'd push her out of the way. And if you took a bullet in the meantime, you'd be like, well, that stinks, but I think it's a biological thing. I think you want to say that you would mentally override your initial reaction, but I don't think men are wired that way.
Yeah.
You also don't fully know when you're in you don't have full knowledge of if you're going to die or get hurt a lot of times. You're just kind of guessing and reacting to that. But he does make a good point, because ultimately, from a secular position, there isn't a good answer to this question.
No.
Yeah, there's not.
So there's only a pragmatic utility, and Brian's holding the pragmatic utility position, and you can't really defeat it unless you insert a theological view. I would argue, particularly a Christian view, which he doesn't hold. So in this instance, he's not married anyway, because he has no reason to do that either. So I mean, why would you die to defend a woman, the status of which you'll never have as a wife, because you don't value that part first. So it's like it's all downstream from like, oh, it's just a human. I can get another human, and it's like that. It's like a Pez dispenser.
Related to this, just curious. Who here is a virgin? Anybody a virgin? Never had sex?
I don't know if they have a different word.
Never
for
had
that.
virgin. Never. No sex.
Yeah. No born agains either.
No sex? You've had sex? No sex. Okay, we got two virgins. If men should be willing to sacrifice their life for their girlfriend or wife, whatever, should women be virgins?
Wait, what?
Wait, just to be clear. So here's your argument. Not a virgin. Not a virgin. You're married. I don't know if you were a virgin.
I wasn't when I got married.
Have kids.
You're married. Were you a virgin? Okay.
Mine was a joke.
So
being
just to
a
be
virgin.
clear,
Mine was
just
a
to be
joke.
clear, traditional gender roles, men should be willing to die, but women not virgins. So explain to me why, and I think in comparison, even if the woman is a virgin, that's wonderful, that's great, but I don't think that's anywhere comparable to the sacrifice of giving your life. Why is that a fair trade-off? Like, you guys can't even bring virginity. I mean, they can, but
Yeah,
but
there's 2 women.
you want men to die for you, but you're not virgins. Explain it.
So you only have value if you're a virgin. I
Yeah,
just want to make sure I'm clear on that.
Yeah.
Well, another way of asking what he's asking is what's equivalent to that then? Because he's just putting it out there. Like, what if men valued virginity, virtue from their women? They wanted a society that women actually, not only valued that, but tried to actually actualize it. The same way they're expecting men to actualize sacrifice to death, war, etc. So if it's not virginity, I think virginity is actually a pretty good one to present. But if it's not that, what else would it? What's something comparable then?
I think it also changes if you have kids. So, I mean,
But what's comparable though to that? Because let's say a bunch of women said, yes, we expect men to potentially die, be on this side of the road. Maybe they get hit by the car first. They open the car door for us. They go to war. They keep society thriving. They do all the grunt work. If you asked all the men, and then let's say it was like 95% men said, what do you want in return? And we say, we want you to value your virginity. What would be, if it wasn't virginity, what else would it be? Like, you know what I mean?
Healing Brian from his sickness right now.
Healing. Yeah, I think.
I mean, I
Fertility
understand
in
the
general?
point you're trying to make. And like for someone like me, for instance, who has children, obviously I can't get it back.
Right.
And I love my children. I wouldn't trade them for the world. But I also, now in hindsight, if I could have waited to marriage, I would have. Totally.
But what would your argument be to, like, let's say I put a should claim on women and I say women should be virgins. What would your rebuttal be to that?
Then the women who aren't virgins have no business dating you or trying to.
No, I'm just saying, well, you would make a should claim as to all men should be willing to sacrifice their life for their wife.
can we
You
agree
would make-
both?
Huh?
Can we agree both? All women before marriage should be virgins and men should.
But they're not.
Well, the thing is, too, that's like something we can't take back. And it's something that, like, I feel like at a young age, it was like hyped and whatnot. We're just going through a whole bunch of programming. Like, they're wanting us to be confused, to be promiscuous, to engage in partying and keep us distracted at a low vibration. And it sucks because I think we could agree that we would wait for our husband. But unfortunately, that's something we can't get back.
And I feel like now, like in terms of me and my relationship, like, okay, I can't offer him virginity, but I can offer him
A bow.
loyalty. And, yeah, that was a good one. But also, knowing that no other man is ever going to touch my body. I'm not going to do things to try to entice men to even want to be near me. I mean, I'm never going to be provoking men's attention or anything like that. That's the best that we can do for women who aren't virgins. And, if a man is willing to accept that, great,
Sounds like modesty. The question is, why don't the men in our culture, why haven't we earned the modesty before the marriage? You know what I mean? Because it's like there's this trend where it's like, yeah, you found the man of your dreams. You both, let's be honest, both wish you could erase a lot of your past, but now you want to kind of settle into the modesty position for your husband. But it's interesting that it's kind of at the tail end and it's not at the beginning. It would make more sense that women were modest for their potential husbands.
But that plays into how you're raised and like your life experiences that you have. Again, like I was growing up, like I subscribed to the whole feminist, independent woman, all yada yada, all that jazz. But growing up, having a children is a big thing too. Like to shift your mindset, because it really puts perspective, priorities into place, and it puts into perspective choices that you made, things you would have done differently. So like, hindsight is 2020. Like, I totally would have changed a lot of the things I did as a teenager, knowing if I would have known what I knew now.
Well, I think we could all agree that descriptively, at least in the U.S. and some other countries, that the movement away from traditional values, particularly Christian ones, and the pursuit of feminism and liberation, and the women get targeted, like, clearly. Like, men already have a sense of individualism just because of our nature. We're not out to find, that's why there's no men, there are some men's groups, but we laugh at them. They're not, like, fighting for their liberation. It's never reversed. So you're always hearing from the women, we want this, and you're basically asking the men for it. But I mean, in the last 100 years, I mean, this has really messed up women's mindsets, because they're attributing value to something that doesn't give them a return that they ultimately want, but they don't know they want it until they're older, and then they're suddenly like, oh shit, you know what I want? Well, it turns out the thing you wanted all along, you could have had, and you didn't need to sacrifice all of that. You didn't need promiscuity. You didn't need practice with sex. You didn't need any of these things. But the women are taught this, and taught you can just be just like a man. Burp. Have you seen like female comedians? They literally act like just gross male comedians. Like the ones they're impersonating aren't even funny male comedians. But that's like a microcosm of what I'm looking at. Is there's this like effort to have women go out there and be like sloppy because men can be. It's like, is that really a good fight to show up in public and like, you look like you're in your total pajamas and you're like, liberation. You're like,
I was gonna say
what
pajamas.
are we doing?
That's a big
Susie
thing.
Orbach wrote a book called Fat is Feminist, and the whole premise of her book is that male beauty standards are too restrictive, and women should rebel against them by being fat.
Yeah,
and this
I saw
was in the
Saw that.
60s or 70s when it was published. And so when feminists tell you like, oh, it's an act of rebellion, like they really mean everything. They also say one of the other contradictions of feminism is men's beauty standards are too high and impossible, and men will screw everything that moves. And I'm like, which one is it? Is it that they're too selective, or that they'll do anything?
It's also
they'll have sex with anything.
It's also
Male
very
don't
funny
have high
that they
beauty
put it on men, because like, if we didn't have like social media, magazines, like things in front of our faces showing us what we would like, again, men don't care. Like they really wouldn't have these kinds of preferences. It's really media, the world, society that pushes those kinds of things on us, and we want to blame men because like it's just the easiest thing. They're right in front of us. But that's not realistic. It's not fair.
Men don't
it's not
have
right.
an obligation to protect us from our own emotions.
Right.
I used to think that, and then I learned that really quickly. I would literally told my boyfriend one time, I was like, I feel like you should just protect me from my emotions. And as soon as it came out, I was like, no, that is not your job. That's not a healthy boundary either.
The best we can do is essentially equivalent to go to your room, like go over there for like 20 minutes until the thing is over, basically. But that's the best we can do it with that.
Well, it has to start with destroying the nuclear family, and the first thing is messing up the women's mindset, telling them to compete with men, getting them out of the house, and then confusing them with this feminist movement. And now they've moved to attacking kids and saying that you are actually in the wrong body.
You're in the wrong body.
Yeah,
I love
and
this panel
that's
today. I swear, I
serious.
really
So
do.
anyways.
Because
So anyways,